I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Adjustments to the agenda, there are just two. 6.4 is a subcommittee request. And 6.5 is an update on a select board meeting. Any other adjustments to the agenda? 3.0, audience and communications. To audience, okay, chocolate.
Thank you for the chocolate.
4.0, presentations, we don't have any. 5.0, reports to the board. 5.1, principals report. It's a quick meeting. 5.2, facilities update. We don't have the committee's meeting in March.
The committee met and had presentations from Doran Whittier, got some feedback, and they have some proposals that we're expecting to have more firm proposals in April. Though now 3 of our members cannot meet in that date in April, so.
We'll find another date in April.
So hopefully we'll have, and we figured we might as well, there's no, it's good that we'll get the report in April, I think. So it seemed, they really considered a lot of, they've been very comprehensive, I think, in their evaluation of what we have and what we need, so.
And this is basically looking at the feasibility study and the energy study that was done, the energy audit that was done, and taking a look at all of that and kind of mapping us out what we need for the future.
And Ronnie met with it was just Ronnie, right, to discuss programming stuff. So met with a bunch of different constituencies to talk about what we need now and going forward.
And the focus has been on the 1939 side of the building.
Okay, the town hall library.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 5.3 is the second quarter financial management report. You guys want to give, are there questions? Do people have questions?
So we should have more money.
I have questions. I guess I'm surprised. I appreciate the work that was done to figure out what happened between where we thought we were going to be well over or well under budget in the summer and when we ended up with the 150. And I'm pleased to see that we're going to have that basically reconciled by the end of the year. I'm really sad that at my last board meeting, though, we have to talk about the dang water system. And I gotta say, I am really frustrated, especially after all that went on last year with the water, the 60,000 in expense. And I think we devoted a huge chunk of a meeting one time talking about what we needed to put in place so it would be all set for this year. And to find out that we're gonna now be 24,000 over? Is that all water?
No.
Okay.
No. I couldn't give you an exact chunk, exact breakdown of that, but I would say the water portion of that is 10 to 15% of that number.
So 2,000 to 3,000.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say $2,000 to $5,000. I can go back and get that.
And
So,
I was just gonna say, I thought we talked a lot about, we had to hire a service to come in and do all this testing. Did they come in more expensive, or
No.
we needed more testing, or?
no, so part of the work that Hamlin Engineering did was create a comprehensive, which we didn't have in place, a comprehensive, I gotta get the right term, operations manual, I think it's called. So essentially, and part of what came about is some questions as to the engineering around the contact time, the ability for us, if we had to chlorinate water. So in other words, something happened where we had to chlorinate water. The way the plumbing was set up down in the boiler room and where the water comes into the building, that we have the ability and the plumbing set up in a way that we have appropriate contact time. And last year, all that work was done to the tune of 27,000. Plus, we now have Hamlin helping us with monitoring. However, what didn't get completed, totally closed up last year, was some questions around that plumbing piece. And because we had some differences in opinion between a guy at the state and our engineer, and a great guy by the name of Greg Bostock from the state, and then our engineer is saying, well, what we have is okay, and then saying, I don't think what you have is okay, and we wanted to make sure that what we have is okay, so that went back and forth. Finally, they came and visited and took some pictures, and they determined that the way it was plumbed was not ideal. So we had to add, they're not expansion tanks, they look like expansion tanks. Basically three new, we got rid of the old ones, and 3 new tanks, cylinders that go parallel to one another. And the water just basically goes through them. So, but if we ever had to chlorinate the water, they would provide sufficient contact time, it's called, meaning the water has enough time with the chlorine before it goes into your system and gets used. And that cost X number of dollars that we're not realizing until now.
So has the state now given us the clean bill of health? Like, are they done with us, or do
We
they
are
keep?
off their priority list. We've got the clean bill of health. We've got an updated manual that every month the reports go into. Dave has reminders that come to him electronically, and I'm CC'd on our Google calendars when monitoring reports are due. Kathy Wagner has helped work with Dave to set up an electronic file as a redundancy to our water. Everything water related goes into there as well. So actually, we're in good standing. I got friendly with the lady at the state last year. Her name is Julie Hackbarth, and we're in good standing with them.
Greg was looking for friends.
Yes.
We like friends in the water.
So yes.
So if that's about 2,000 or 3,000, where's the 20,000 in operations overrun? Is it?
I would say miscellaneous. I could get back to you with a better breakdown for that.
It just, I'm just reminded that we didn't put in the 4,000 or whatever it was for furniture in our O&M budget, because we always said we always find that money someplace, and it just, if we're underrunning O&M, we need to know that.
Yep.
Well, yes, you
I-
probably will.
They're friends.
Do we have a blueprint or a schematic of what our water system looks like from the well on out, or on in, I should say,
Yes, I believe that's part of our operations manual.
the whole thing? So we know where all the pipes run and everything.
I think so, Clyde. I'm not a water expert, but I've been through that binder, and there are schematics that include the diagrams of where the well is. There's a source protection plan that goes with that. In other words, where are your things that could potentially be hazardous to your source, and where is the source? So there are aerial maps. But I think I know there are schematics of the building. I don't know if the schematics of the building include piping right out to the well, or if those things are handled on different pages or what.
Well, we should find out,
Okay.
because, for example, before we start getting carried away with the 39 building, which really works all right, the water system, on the other hand, has never really worked all right. And we're way beyond being nickel and dimed to death by this thing. We're being thousands of dollars to death by this thing. So we ought to have a concrete answer to the question I asked. Do we know everything there is to know about it from the well into the building?
My initial answer to that is I would say so, because we have that comprehensive operations manual put together by Hamlin. But I'm not an engineer, so.
Well, you can just call Rick and ask him, do we have that, or are there blank spaces in there still?
Yeah, I think when I know when the new building was built, I believe the blueprints, because we had to dig and excavate around that area, I think it outlined the water source and the way that it came into the building, but I don't know once you get out past the playground. Okay, anything else on the FMR? I'm really happy that we're gonna look at 12,000. I won't be here, but I will come to a dance if we get to 0, if we really end the year at 0.
Writing that down.
You won't be here
Yeah,
either.
I'm gonna come to watch the dance, though.
I just, especially considering that our food service is going in the other direction.
It'll be on RETN, so.
Just play it over and over.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, food service. I'm waiting for that committee to do their work. Okay.
So can I just clarify what the board would like in follow-up?
On the, for
On
the
the
20,
issue around O and M.
what would you guys like? I mean, I think we should have an understanding of where the overrun is coming in.
Okay.
And if furniture is a part of that, I think then it warrants a conversation for when the budget's done next year. And I do think we need to, if you can just confirm that we have all we need to know about the water system
Okay.
maps, or, what did you call it? Schematics. Thank you. I think we have some type of responsibility also as that building goes on Williams Hill. Isn't there a,
They actually have a responsibility to
To
us.
us.
There's an agreement about them having to monitor our well due to the work that they're doing. 'Cause
And-
they've been in touch with Bob to get our monitoring schedule, and so
And our
Bob,
baselines.
yeah, Bob dealt with the builder up there.
okay.
Good.
Okay, 5.4 CSSU debrief. Real quick, the outcomes, I think, will be on the agenda for retreat. There's a working draft that the outcomes committee has kind of finalized, and it's what the administration is using to develop the indicators. And I think the next time that comes to fruition will be in June at the retreat. Food Services, the committee is, the CSSU committee has met twice, and they're moving forward to look at ways to improve the delivery of food services, which apparently includes quite a bit, ranging from how we do it to are there any cost savings? And I think Adora is our rep on that committee. Legislative update, everybody's still getting the VSBA's. There's a lot going on. And then the common topic was the Middlebury initiative between Middlebury College and Middlebury, I didn't even get the name of
Middlebury language,
something.
I've got it here.
It's
Middlebury interactive.
interactive. It's a way of providing world language education. Right now, it's 312, but based on Middlebury's world language program and all of their pedagogy surrounding delivery of instruction. And the way it was brought, they're really trying to impact or get in schools in Vermont, and so they've heavily discounted their programming. Unfortunately, you have to let them know by April 1st.
And it's really a secondary school.
It's really for the high schools right now. But it's kind of a neat, out-of-the-box way to think about delivering world language, especially in a blended, using both virtual learning and staff in-house. Kind of like a personalized Rosetta Stone, I think, but using Middlebury's, all of their years of experience in the best way to instruct in world language. Okay, 6.0 discussion matters, 6.1 policy review, we don't have any. 6.2, the budget informational meeting. I sent out the flyer, so I'm finalizing that. I sent an email to the news to see the cost to do the insert versus doing the full page ad. God, I would love to do a full page ad in the Charlotte News instead of doing those inserts, but I'm thinking it might be expensive. So I'll let you know what I hear back on that. And I will send out the PowerPoint that I was going to do for the hearing. It's essentially what I did for the January hearing. I added some things actually for the PTO meeting last night, but we never got to it. So I'll send that out if people have comments
Okay.
on that. Kristen has the article that hopefully will be in the Citizen tomorrow.
Hopefully, yeah, it went to both, and I just think the Citizen was too full the last time. There was a lot in there, so.
We'll do it the next time. The PTO is, or there's actually a PTO organized coffee on Monday at Andrew Thurber and Kit Perkins' house. And they are working on getting letters to the editor and doing signs. And then there's another side group that's doing a vote yes for CCS group as well. So we have a sandwich board out front that says vote early, absentee ballots available at town hall. We got a complaint.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because it said vote today, absentee ballots available at town hall, and somebody thought we were trying to sneak in a vote. So it says vote early, absentee ballots, it was on,
When's the budget presentation?
it's the night before, March 4th. You gonna be there?
50/50.
Are you gonna be there on the 5th?
Same answer.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you can think of that we need to do? Oh, I sent an email. There's a gal at CVU who's doing a grad challenge on voter registration. So I sent her an email today and asked her to let the kids know as they register to vote why they need to vote in March, not just the presidential election. So she's going to spread that word. So hopefully we'll get some kids voting. Communications Board's Corner. I think we got that covered. The next one won't be until
Won't be till
March.
after, yeah.
Yep. 6.4, the Select Board is going to charge an ad hoc committee to look at increasing interest in participating in voting on town matters. This is kind of a step 2 after last spring, when there was a group of people who brought up the proposal to vote on the town budget via Australian ballot. And what this group is going to do is look at ways to increase participation, not necessarily say it has to be town meeting, not necessarily say it has to be Australian ballot, but kind of look at all the ranges and see if we can't propose a way to get more people involved in participating. The Select Board is wondering if the school board also wants to charge this committee with them. So it's not just voting on town matters, it would also be on school matters. And so I said I would query the board.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm not sure.
Yes, ask the board. I'm asking the board if you would like to do that.
I'm always conscious of more and more and more time commitments for board members. There are a lot of committees, policy and CSSU and construction committee. There are lots of things that happen that eat up our time. And adding to that is always needs to be a very conscious, deliberate, and well-intended decision. What would we look to gain from this?
It would be to increase interest in participating in voting on school matters.
You mean to get more people to vote?
Would it be any different having a board member on that committee or not having a board member on that committee? I mean, would we be losing anything by not having a representation of the school board on that? You know what I mean? I'm just thinking that the community as a whole voting would certainly trickle down into the schools
Well, they're
being
two different-
benefited.
Right
you know
now,
what
there
I
are two
mean?
different methods of
They are.
voting, too.
I'd be reluctant to commit.
What was the genesis of this desire on the part of the select board?
So last spring, when the piece to change everything to Australian was brought up, it was basically tabled. there was a group that self-appointed themselves to study it over the summer, and they came back, the town meeting piece over the summer, and they came back to the select board maybe 2 months ago and said, we've solved it, we're gonna change the time of town meeting. So I now have to have full disclosure, and I said, well, wait a second. What kind of committee was this? Was this a committee of the board? Was this a diverse committee? What kind of committee was this? And did you look at any options other than just town meeting? And basically, the select board said the same thing. So that's when the select board said we need to have a diverse group to look at all the options. And it was the diverse group that thought, well, maybe the school board wants to look at increasing participation in school matters as well. And so should we come back and ask the school board if they want to do that? I am on the committee. So it's not like the school piece wouldn't be represented, but I wouldn't be a school board member.
You're on which committee?
The select board committee,
The diverse
the
The
diverse committee, to
This
look
is-
at increasing participation and interest in voting on town matters.
So this is an additional committee, or this is the
It
same?
would be the same committee.
one?
Do we want to lump in the school piece with it?
Oh. Well, you kind of, you're on it. And you're not on the school board, but
Does
you're
the
still gonna
school-
be a good representation for
But
us.
does the
I'm-
school board, yeah, well, I guess the question is the school board interested in increasing interest in participating and voting on school matters?
Yes, of course.
That's not the question. The question is whether such a committee or subcommittee would have any effect,
Right,
or whether it's just a waste of time.
right.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
a
like,
waste of time. And no offense, but I think yours is too. Because if an issue comes up, like the sidewalks, that catches
Mm-hmm.
people's attention, they're going to come. Otherwise, they're going to do what they've always done and just say,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, go ahead. So I think it'd be a waste of the board's time.
Okay.
though I think what would be interesting is finding a way, just as the Front Porch Forums have said, boy, everyone's going crazy and yelling at not just us, but also the select board right now. If people came earlier into both budget processes, that would give us a lot better information going forward. So if that were part of the charge, I could see that having some real benefit. I'd rather have someone giving us that information in November than yelling at us once the budget's final in January.
Folks, here is the interest from the community. I mean, there's a distinction between saying it would be a good thing and saying that
It's a reality.
something you might do might have some bearing on that. And nothing will.
I think it'll be interesting. All right, I'll keep you
So
informed.
maybe later.
Maybe later. I said I would query, I would ask. I asked, you answered.
Eric or Jody, either one of you have any opinions on being part of that, the school board having representation on that committee?
I would say, what is the outcome that you want to get out from this? And I think Clyde had mentioned that if people are passionate about a certain issue, they will show up to vote. If not, they don't. I don't know if how you can get people out to vote unless they really want to. And my concern is that you're gonna waste your time on people who just don't care anyway. So, and also we're dealing with adults. People need to make choices. Whether or not it's important for them or not, they need to make the choice whether to vote or not. It does not matter whether you put a sign in front of the house and come go vote. I really don't know what else can the board, this board or select board get more people to get involved unless they really want to get involved. So I will basically bounce it back to the board and say, do you feel that your effort being participating in it is going to get any better outcome than what you will have currently based on the workload you guys already have done so far?
I have my own biased view, and I try not, I will,
Well, no, I mean, basically, I think it's always good to get people out to vote, but where do you draw the line? Is to say how, people, everybody knows the day, town meeting day, that's the day. And I think part of those is the disfranchise. people experienced from last time when people felt that they get to pay the property tax, but they don't get to vote on like matters unless you have to show up. And so suddenly that is the no taxation without representation. Come to mind is that, well, how come I don't get to go have a say because I have to work, I can take a day off, but somehow a small group of people will vote on something that I am not allowed to vote. And I think that put off a lot of people that I have experience with. I mean,
That's the subject that this committee's looking at,
Well,
is,
I mean,
is
that's
town
the-
meeting the
right.
best venue, best way to get people to vote on town matters? Or are we
Right.
disenfranchising a
Yeah,
good
I
chunk?
mean, basically, I think that model works in the old days when it's mainly farm communities, people can show up and vote. But now, with the diverse workforce and work schedules, I think if I don't know how that is going to work. I mean, I'll let my other community members have a chance.
Now, I'm sympathetic to the idea that, moving away from traditional town meeting to something that accommodates, like an Australian ballot format might make sense. I'm not sure, having said that in like one sentence, I'm not sure I want to be on a committee that has to meet repeatedly to beat my head against the wall.
See, I'm gonna leave the school board and beat
She
my
needs
head again.
something to do.
All right,
Is that
I'll,
issue the sole point of this subcommittee that the select board has? Whether or not town meeting is the best way for people to access in terms of depriving people of their vote or not?
we are looking at ways to increase interest and participation in voting on town matters. That is our charge. It's not limited.
Interest in or participation?
Both interest in and participation in voting. It's a diverse group with very passionate opinions on both sides,
Well,
and I
I'm
think
sure
it's
of that.
great.
It's the same math that applied to the school meeting. Of course, more people will vote if you do it in the ballot.
I actually think there's a compromise where you don't have to
What is your
lose.
personal bias that you were referring to before?
I think if everyone has to pay property taxes, everyone should have the opportunity to vote, and I don't think that town meeting format allows people to vote, the majority of the town to vote. And I think when significant matters such as fire and rescue, sidewalks that have huge price tags come before that need to be voted on, I don't think a small group of people should be making that decision for the town. But I'm not gonna get into a debate of the here's or there. I'm happy to have a debate about it, however, but not tonight. It's not a school issue. Because we probably don't see eye to eye.
Oh, we do. There's no question that it deprives people of the opportunity. I don't see why the select board is wasting time on a subcommittee as opposed to just putting it before the town. and
Because we
saying-
tried it last time and we got tabled, we got outmaneuvered Robert's rules. And so this is a way, I've learned from my school board experience, you take the opposing sides, maybe it was negotiations, the opposing sides, and you sit down and you gotta figure out a solution. You've gotta understand both sides and work together to come up to a solution.
There's no compromise. You either do it in the ballot booth or you do it at town meeting.
I think I have a compromise.
Well,
Okay.
anyway, this is beyond the scope of.
I'll tell you my
You can talk to Lynn right
I'll
after.
tell you my compromise afterwards. There's not much more. 6.5, so select board meeting, this is kind of exciting. So I got actually an email from a different community member asking where all of our education tax dollars go. Bob sent me the sheet, and on the sheet, it says $30,000 goes back to the town, that the town holds on to and retains, 27,000. Independent of me doing this with another community member and Bob, our newest board member found out the same information.
Really?
Yep, when he spent a good chunk of a day with Brad James at the DOE. So every year, there's a statute that says out of all of our ed tax dollars, the town gets to hold on to some of it. Like it's ranged from 15 to now this year, $27,000. And so I emailed Mary and I asked her where that money goes to. And it took her a while to find the money, and she said, well, it goes to offset town expenses. And I said, we're using education tax dollars to offset town expenses, which does reduce the town's, it still reduces our tax bill, But it's a pretty expensive way to offset our tax bill, and when I did the math and I took out that money from the town and put it into our revenue and recalculated taxes, it's better off if that money is sent back to us in terms of local revenue to offset taxes. And I think we would need to be really clear in policy that that money is used to offset property taxes through the school. So I called Charlie Russell and I said, what do you think? Can we look at doing this? And so we're on the select board for the February 25th meeting. I don't know that anything will be finalized then, but at least the conversation is open. And maybe we'll have a little, we don't have 200,000 like Williston does, but I'll take 27,000.
Seed money for a savings account.
Well, over 5 years, it's over $100,000 that we could have then used to help offset the tax rate. And it's a little bit of money, but it's a little bit of money. Okay, so Eric will continue the fight when I'm gone.
Yeah, you wonder,
Over
because there
that.
must have been some legislative intent behind why you're allowed to, or why the town should retain anything.
I think it started back, Bob actually talked to somebody at the DOE, at AOE. It started back when Act 60 came in, and when town clerks, there was a thought that it was gonna be a lot of work to figure out what's going where, who's getting what. But it's still a significant, $27,000, and basically I think CSSU central office does all of the paperwork, all of the math. What our town does is Mary writes the checks. So we'll start the conversation.
Yes, DOE just presents that sheet to them. So they've done all the math already.
Right, and the state isn't sending the money back to us, it's money that we collect 12 million in property taxes, and then we just hold on to 27,000 of that, so it should be sitting there.
It's only gonna get bigger just because it's a percentage
Right.
of the total tax take, so that number's not getting any smaller.
It's gone up, and actually when Act 68 came in, it jumped considerably, too, so. Okay. 7.0 action matters. The retreat date, actually CSSU set the date of May 31st for their board meeting, or their retreat, with the hope that we would do our retreat in the morning, and CSSU would do it in the afternoon. Does that date, May 31st, work?
It's not,
Memorial Day weekend?
Memorial Day's the one before, right?
No, right, it's the
It'd be
week
the
after.
Friday after.
Dora said it worked for her. Do you know if it works for you?
I'll be away. I was graduating.
Oh.
Okay, well, and do you know yet about May 31st? And we got to find out about Mark.
I have an appointment that afternoon. If everybody could only do it the 31st, I could,
Well, it would be just in the morning.
oh, okay.
For the locals,
Yeah.
would be in the morning.
Yeah, the CSSU part's in the afternoon, but, where we set the agenda, map out for the year would be in the morning.
So we'll
All right,
find
I'll
out
find out
from
from
Mark.
Mark.
So tentatively, although you didn't come last year. So I'm not really going to move everything around to accommodate your schedule if you're not going to come.
Perfect sense.
Okay. 8.0, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second?
I had a question about the surf expenditure. We didn't have anything in our packet about that. And as I know, it should be an automatic, but can we just pull that out just so we
Yeah,
can,
yeah, I will do that. Pull that out.
so does that need to be adjusted?
Yeah.
The motion?
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 8.4?
So moved?
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, 8.4, do I have a motion to approve a surf expenditure of $7,500, Greg? $7,500 for technology infrastructure.
So moved.
Second.
So this is the
Is someone
7,500.
taking notes?
Sandy
Sandy's-
will do it
Oh,
through
from
the
there, okay.
RTN, yeah.
This is the $7,500 that is needed for the technology upgrade that when we got the decision packets, we said it could come from the SURF monies. And this is work that could be done that could benefit, our school could use this year. So instead of waiting until the summer to have it done, and since the money is sitting in the SURF, it was put on to do the work now. And we have to identify, we specifically, money in SURF, we have to identify its use before it's used.
And there's enough in the search fund to cover this.
Yep. Any other discussion?
What specifically is this gonna be?
We're adding RAM, we were originally going to buy a new server, but we're adding RAM to 2 of our servers. We're buying more Arrow Hives, which are basically the wireless access points for the school. And we're replacing a switch, a network switch. I believe those are the 3 items that are gonna add up to $7,500. We think that the adding of the additional RAM on those 2 servers will get us another 2 years out of them.
Those are worthwhile expenses, but I don't believe that's what the SURF was created for, so I'll be voting against this.
I did, just to let you know, Clyde, I did ask about that, if that could come from SURF, because when we put in the new building, a lot of the technology infrastructure was used from that. If we were buying computers, that would be different.
I
But,
understand your logic, I just
Okay.
disagree.
all right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 9.0, director's comments?
I just want to remind everybody that the variety show is on Friday.
Yay! No more snow.
No, hopefully not.
Well, Minor, thank you so much to Sue and Lynn. Yeah, well, I could say a lot more, but just thank you. And I'm like a broken record, but when we get the report cards, and again, it says my kids are absent because they missed for Rosh Hashanah, I just wish we could do a different category for kids who miss school because of something like that. And there
Right.
could be other things like that, if you have to disenroll to go where, you know, wherever,
Right.
but, I don't know, my husband especially, it sticks in his craw.
Yeah.
They were not absent, we didn't let them
Right.
go to school.
Right. And the complexity around that is that we are in a regional truancy agreement, and
yeah.
they define all of that. And we've pushed back on some things, and actually in some things, we've won. You
Yeah,
know,
and
in
as
terms of
far as the whole
we sent
letters,
out.
that's fine,
Yeah.
but just on the report card itself, that's a
Right.
sheet that we do, the front page that
That's
says,
a good point.
you know, days absent. So, that's my broken record.
Keep at it. Keep working on it. I don't have anything. We
Would you
have
let me say something, even though I'm not a director, so you'd just call it superintendent comments?
superintendent comments.
So at the SU board meeting, I did have a chance to say to everybody, last meeting for Sue and for Lynn, and we will miss them a lot. They've done great work. And I also announced the people who have served on boards for longer than 10 years. And since Clyde holds the record, I would be remiss not to say that of all of the board members that we have, Clyde has 22 years in service, and thank you very much for your
Anytime.
service. Obviously, you love it.
Okay, next meeting dates are all listed. We've got board chairs Friday, policy committee the 20th. What we do need to plan is the special board reorganization meeting. So I think I'm going to leave that in your hands, Kristen,
Okay,
to coordinate with Clyde and Adora and Eric and Mark and Elaine's schedule to how that
Okay.
all works.
Yep.
Our next board meeting is the 13th at 7. That's the CSSU board meetings at 7, and then the next CSD board meeting is March 19th. That's it. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
Before we
moved.
go there,
Oh.
Lynn and Sue, while Thank you for your efforts.
Oh, thanks, Clyde.
Thank you. That's on record, you know.
I know.
You almost couldn't
say
say
it.
replay that
It was tough.
No, it wasn't. Everybody's heart's in the right place. Everybody hurts in the right place. Okay, do I have a motion to enter executive session?
moved.
Okay. Thank you.